The atmosphere in the bedroom grows incredibly intense as the night deepens as she gets totally swept up in the moment. A chilling realization hits her like a ton of bricks. The man she's with is an executive director for the powerful Woogen Group, and a major figure in the criminal underworld. But the worst part, he's the very man who kidnapped her in the first place. Meet Hyewon, a woman completely worn down by a life of poverty. It's after 2 in the morning, and she's just dragging herself home beyond exhausted. Her life is a miserable cycle: a day job, a part-time gig at night, and constant threats from loan sharks over her mother's debt. To make matters worse, her creepy boss won't stop hitting on her, despite having a daughter her age. She's furious but feels trapped. She can't afford to lose the job, knowing the collectors will come for her if she can't pay. As Hyewon walks home, she feels completely wronged by her situation. All this debt, and she hasn't even spent a penny of it. She thinks about how awful her life is, wondering if things would be better without her mother. To Hyewon, her mom was like seaweed, a worthless parasite who did nothing but drag her down into a living hell. She worked so hard to escape that life, but a joint guarantee contract ensured she never could, stopping dead in her tracks. She looks up at the sky, utterly defeated. She just wants it all to end. With her mind made up, Hyewon decides she can finally end this miserable reality, but just as she resolves to take a step, a vehicle barrels towards her at full speed. She's frozen in shock, but at the last second, a strong arm yanks her back, throwing her roughly onto the pavement. Her head smacks against the ground, and she groans in pain, totally confused by the sudden chaos. As her vision clears, she notices a dark red stain spreading across the ground where she just stood. Horrified, she wonders what this stuff is. The horrifying truth hits Hyewon: it's blood. Peeking around a corner, she stumbles upon a terrifying scene. A group of men are dealing with a traitor. The leader coldly asks who ordered the betrayal, while pressing his shoe down on the man's hand. The traitor begs for his life, pleading about his decade of loyalty, but the boss shows no mercy, thinking that if he were discovered, he'd be finished too. The traitor's pleas are cut short as the boss's men finish the job, leaving him motionless on the ground. Hyewon watches, frozen in terror. The boss coldly orders his men to clean up the mess. Hyewon's mind screams at her to run, but her body won't move an inch. She knows if they find her, she's next. As the goons drag the body away, her eyes lock onto something horrifying: her phone, lying cracked on the ground in plain sight. Before she can react, a hand violently yanks her hair, dragging her from her hiding spot. A furious voice demands to know what she's doing. Hyewon screams, pleading for her life, and swearing she saw absolutely nothing. One of the goons asks his boss what to do, certain she saw everything. The leader calmly takes the blame, admitting he should have been more cautious. Hyewon continues to plead for her life, swearing she didn't see a thing. Unmoved, June grabs her chin, forcing her to look at him. Her eyes widen as she notices the dark stains on his hand and shirt. The terrifying realization hits her. This man is the one who gave the order. Frozen in terror, she wonders what her fate will be now. Hyewon's mind screams, absolutely certain she's about to die. But Julian gives a shocking order: take her to his house. Before she can react, a hand clamps over her mouth, and she's swiftly thrown over a goon's shoulder. As his men carry her away, Julian looks on with a complicated expression, thinking what terrible timing it is to meet her now. Later, Hyewon wakes up bound and gagged, silently pleading for someone to save her. This terrifying moment was her very first encounter with the cold-hearted boss. Hyewon is jolted awake in the dark, confined space of a moving vehicle. She struggles to breathe, pure panic setting in, as she realizes she's been captured. The overwhelming darkness triggers a traumatic memory from her childhood. She recalls how her mother, on her bed days, would lock her in a narrow closet as a punishment, ignoring her desperate cries. The woman would simply yell at her to be quiet. Now trapped and helpless, that same paralyzing fear grips her, making it impossible to think of a way to escape. The vehicle finally halts at a sleek high-rise building as Juan carries the unconscious Hyewon inside his apartment. A man smoking by the door looks up, completely stunned. He asks what his boss is doing, carrying a woman to his personal space. Juan calmly explains that she's a witness he encountered while dealing with a traitor. His subordinate is baffled. He questions why Ju-hyun would bring her here instead of dealing with her permanent long with the other guy. This strange act of mercy leaves the man completely confused outside the room. One of Julian's goons gets a nasty idea, wondering if they can have some fun with Hyun before he returns, but his partner in having it, snapping that these are Julian's orders and he needs to shut his mouth. Listening in, Hyun's blood runs cold. She connects the dots. The intense blood-splattered man from the alley is Ju-hyun. The creep outside suddenly gets a reality check. Dia tergagap mengatakan hanya bercanda sambil membuka kunci pintu. Hyewon sekarang berdiri di sebuah penthouse mewah, realizing she's in the lion's den itself, tied up and gagged. Total panic mode, she desperately wonders if she should beg someone for help. Suddenly, the silver-haired man Han-jin approaches and pulls off her gag. But instead of saving her, he gives her one chilling piece of advice: plead for your life when his boss returns. It's her only shot. He turns and leaves her completely helpless. The awful reality sinks in. Her hands are tied, her phone is smashed to pieces back in the alley. There's no escape. A wave of pure despair washes over her. Tears rolled down Haiwan's face. She thought her only mistake was trying to stop being a pushover. The despair was too much, and she cried until she passed out from sheer exhaustion. Sometime later, a voice cut through the darkness, wondering how she could possibly be asleep. Haiwan's eyes snapped open. Juan was sitting right in front of her, looking amused. He commented on how bold she was for someone who'd been kidnapped. In that instant, the terrifying image of him from the alley flashed in her mind. It was him. Her body began to tremble uncontrollably, totally panicking. Haiwan stammers that she didn't see anything, trying to lie that her eyesight is terrible. Juan smirks, not buying it for a second. He tests her by holding up 2 fingers. She blurts out the correct answer, completely blowing her cover. As she desperately tries to explain that she can only see things up close, he cuts her off. His hand moves in a blur, and a sharp impact silences her instantly. Leaning in, he coolly asks if she preferred being tied up, sarcastically adding that he'll respect her preference. Bracing for another blow, Haiwan is stunned when Juan gently touches her face, remarking that it must hurt. Utterly confused, she wonders if he's actually letting her go. But instead of freeing her, he hands her a business card. Her world tilts as she reads it. Kang Ju-hyun, managing director of a major corporation. The shocking truth sinks in: this powerful company is just a front. Ju-hyun laughs at her expression before his face turns deadly serious. He confirms her fears, stating that what she witnessed is a very real problem. Hyun's mind races for a way out. She desperately offers to sign a liability waiver, promising to keep quiet, but it's all a trick. She plans to call the cops the second she's free. One isn't fooled, asking why he should possibly trust her. As she begs him, he coldly points out she has nothing to offer for his trust. He tells her the math doesn't add up and the cleanest solution is to simply get rid of her. The image of him after a violent encounter confirms his words. Cornered, Haiwan asks what she should do. Overcome with pure terror, Haiwan desperately promises to do anything he says. All she can think about is her will to live. One weighs his options. Getting rid of a civilian is a costly headache, but he can't just let her go. He grabs a lock of her hair, announcing the only solution: you'll have to keep her by his side and watch her. As the relief of survival washes over her, he tells her to stop shaking, adding that he doesn't enjoy tormenting women and prefers not to handle 2 messy situations in one day. Ju-hyun pulls the stunned Haiwan to her feet, telling her the floor is cold. He leads her away, and she nervously asks where they're going. His answer is simple and terrifying: the bathroom. Stopping at the door, he orders her to wash up quickly. Panicked, she demands to know what he means by that. With an unreadable smile, Ju-hyun simply reminds her that she promised to do whatever he told her to do. He makes it clear that her obedience starts now. Ju-hyun leans against the bathroom entrance, ordering Haiwan to wash up quickly and warning that his patience is thin. Her mind goes blank with confusion and fear. He reminds her of her promise to obey, and she can only stammer a weak agreement. As her thoughts spiral, Ju-hyun steps closer, invading her space. With a smirk, he asks if she really thought he would take advantage of her. He calls her out, pointing out that she promised to do anything but is already hesitating at his very first command. As Ju-hyun leaned in, Haiwan's mind went into overdrive. He was way too close. Panicked, she stammered that she misspoke, begging him for anything but that, but Ju-hyun just looked down at the trembling girl with disdain. He mocked her for shaking so much, coldly stating he had no interest in someone so inexperienced and for raw. With a rough shove, he pushed her toward the bathroom, telling her to hurry up. From outside the closed door, he ordered her to throw away her current clothes, complaining that the smell of meat was overwhelming. Stunned but relieved, Haiwan stammered her agreement. Inside the bathroom, Haiwan's entire body ached from the stress. Trying to pull herself together, she went to wash up but froze when she saw her reflection. She was a complete disaster. Mortified, she stared at her worn-out face and realized Jueyan was right. She looked pathetic. After quickly washing away the grime and the smell of meat, she stepped out. The room was empty. With a shaky voice, she cautiously called out, asking if anyone was there as she walked forward, stepping out of the bathroom. Haiwan timidly announced she was finished washing. Suddenly, Jueyan was there, his intense gaze locked onto her. He commented on her clothes, making her freeze. Her mind raced. Her old undergarments were unusable, so she'd come out without them. Was it obvious? But Jueyan's next words completely blindsided her. He simply noted that the borrowed clothes were too big on her, and casually stated that he would have to buy her some new ones. Haiwan was completely baffled by his offer, when Jueyan suddenly switched gears, forgetting the clothes. He ordered her to sit on the sofa and roll up her pants. Her mind raced. What was he planning now? He calmly explained that her leg got badly scraped when she was dragged earlier. She insisted she was fine, but he gently grabbed her ankle, telling her to stay still because a girl shouldn't get a scar. Utterly confused by his sudden concern, she obeyed. He knelt down with a first aid kit, warning her it might sting, as Jueyan gently finished bandaging her leg. Haiwan's mind was a mess. What kind of gangster was this gentle? He was a completely strange man. Once he was done, she quietly thanked him. Taking a chance, she nervously asked if she could please go home now. Jueyan's answer was a hard no. He explained that since she was a witness, he couldn't just let her go, pointing out that it was already 4 a.m. He told her to stay the night. Flustered, Haiwan quickly offered to sleep on the sofa instead. Jueyan flatly rejected her offer to sleep on the sofa, asking what kind of man she thought he was. He then dropped a bombshell. She would sleep in his room with him since there was only one bed in the house. Haiwan's mind went completely blank at his proposal. The next morning, Jueyan returned her phone with the cracked screen fixed, but there was a catch. He had also installed a tracker and wiretap. He warned her not to even think about running or calling the police. Recalling how she ended up just sleeping soundly beside him, Haiwan quietly agreed. Haiwan cringes remembering how she passed out like a log, completely taking over his bed. Back in the present, Jueyan drops her off, snapping her out of her thoughts by teasing her for spacing out. After she awkwardly thanks him for the ride, she watches him leave, wondering if he might not be such a bad guy after all. But the second he's gone, his friendly demeanor vanishes. He immediately gets a full report from his subordinate Seokjin, a detailed file containing every bit of information on her life, from her university to her current job. Seokjin's report reveals Haiwan's shocking reality. At just 25, she's drowning in a 200 million won debt left behind by her missing mother, for whom she was the guarantor. The situation gets worse. The loan is from Company L, a group notorious for their brutal collection methods. Seokjin explains they know she can't pay and are deliberately cornering her. If she misses a single payment, they plan to force her into one of the city's shadowy establishments. Hearing this, Jueyan curses under his breath. Of all the scumbags, it had to be them. Jueyan's mind drifts to the past. He remembers a younger Haiwan and reflects on how he'd always hoped she would live an ordinary, happy life, but that dream was completely shattered by her current terrible situation. Riding in the car, his expression hardens. He orders Seokjin to arrange a meeting with Ju Park from Company L and to find Haiwan's biological mother. With a determined look, Ju-hyun decides there's no other choice. He's going to have to step in and handle this mess himself. Haiwan stammers out a thank you for the ride, but Ju-hyun just brushes it off as nothing before walking away. As the sound of his car fades, she finally gets inside her apartment, relieved to be safe. But the moment the door closes, the day's horror crashes down on her. Flashbacks hit hard, witnessing a brutal takedown, being tied up by gangsters and then spending the night at the house of a killer. The weight of it all sinks in and she crumbles, trembling, with absolute terror over what she just survived. Despite the absolute terror of the night before, Haiwan forces herself back into her daily routine. She has to work no matter what. A few hours later at the BBQ restaurant, her day takes a turn for the worse. Her sleazy boss insists she join him for a drink. Haiwan politely refuses. But he isn't taking no for an answer. He grabs her arm, stopping her from leaving and demanding they have a deeper talk. She's disgusted, realizing he's just trying to corner her. Then he dangles her paycheck, which he brought in cash as leverage. As her boss makes his slimy offer, a far worse reality crashes down on Haiwan. Her heart pounds in her chest. All her part-time wages are automatically sent to a loan company on payday. If he withholds her cash, she'll default on this month's interest payment. A wave of terror washes over her. As she realizes what that means, the loan sharks will come looking for her. She's completely trapped. Fooled by disgust and desperation, she internally fumes at the sleazy man who dares to touch her while holding her life in his hands. A violent shove sends Hyun sprawling to the floor. A man towers over her, screaming about how she couldn't escape him. Her mind flashes to a desperate fall, her thoughts racing about the unpaid debt and ignored calls. Snapping back to reality, she's stressing over her finances when a voice cuts in. A man named Xiaojun is standing in her doorway holding a phone. He confirms she is Haiwan the guarantor. As he mentions the missed payments, Haiwan freezes in terror. The loan sharks have found her. The loan shark corners Haiwan, demanding to know why she wasted their time. Trembling, she explains her wages were delayed and begs for just a little longer. He scoffs at her excuse, saying that even one late payment is unacceptable. He then gets uncomfortably close, touching her chin and suggesting a special job that could easily solve her money problems. Haiwan realizes with sickening certainty what he's implying: a job in the city shadows. This is her worst nightmare. She fought desperately her whole life to avoid the same fate as her mother. Frozen in fear, Haiwan's mind spirals as the loan shark makes her a disgusting offer to reduce her interest. She questions why her life is a constant struggle, feeling utterly alone and desperately wishing for someone to save her. Just as a tear escapes her eye, a new voice cuts through the room, coldly repeating the loan shark's words before the creep can react. A fist connects heart, sending him stumbling. A stunned Haiwan looks up to see Ju-hyun, who remarks that they've only been apart half a day. Completely overwhelmed, Haiwan collapses forward, wrapping her arms tightly around Ju-hyun. Her mind is a mess. She knows he's dangerous and his help isn't free, but in that moment she doesn't care. For the first time in her life, someone actually came to save her. Later, sitting in his car, she can't stop her tears. Ju-won holds her, telling her she must be exhausted and should just sleep. Through her sobs, Hee-won explains that the tears just won't stop. He looks down at her with a calm expression and asks, "Really?" With a soft look, Hee-won remarks that he's worried her pretty eyes will swell up. Before Hee-won can react, he leans in and she's completely stunned, but in that moment, something inside her changes for the first time in her life. She decides to stop thinking and just follow her heart. She pulls him closer, deepening their connection as the scene shifts to a private room, where their simple embrace has turned into something far more intense. It's clear their relationship has just crossed a very important line. The intensity from their kiss only skyrockets. Lost in the moment, Hyun's mind goes completely blank as she lets him take the lead. Things escalate quickly and she suddenly feels exposed, asking him not to stare at her. But Ju-hyun's gaze is gentle as he tells her it's impossible to look away when she's so beautiful. Hearing this, any doubt she had completely melts. He moves closer and it's clear that the final line between them has just been crossed, changing their connection forever. Haewon groggily wakes up, the memory of a strange dream fading. In it, she'd found a badly injured man collapsed in the rain right outside her house. She dismisses the strange vision, touching her aching head, but as she sits up, the blanket falls away and she freezes in shock. A hot flush of embarrassment hits her as she quickly covers herself, questioning why she's undressed. The intense memories of the previous night flood back in a dizzying rush just as she turns to see Ju-hyun sleeping right beside her. Haewon stares at the sleeping Ju-hyun, her mind racing just as she thinks he might be waking up. He stretches and opens his eyes. She nervously asks if he slept well. With a smirk, he says he didn't, since someone fainted in the middle of their night, leaving him to finish on his own. Mortified, Haewon stammers that it was her first time. A whirlwind of memories from the night before floods her mind, realizing she'd been so intimate with a man she just met. She decides she needs to escape, and fast. Just as Haewon plots her great escape, Ju-hyun yanks her back into a firm embrace. He smirks, asking if she's done regretting their night because he can read her like a book. Before she can even form a response, he pulls her into a kiss, reminding her that she was the one who was so proactive. He tells her to stop thinking about running away. Then he casually gets up, telling her to use the bedroom's bathroom, while he uses the other one. As he walks off, Haewon gets an unexpected view and comically freaks out. Flustered, Haewon clutches the sheets and asks for her clothes. Ju-hyun turns with a smirk, refusing to help until she calls him by his name, teasing that they're a bit closer now. After she reluctantly says his name, he's satisfied, but then drops a bombshell: he threw her clothes away because they reeked of blood. As she panics about going home, he coldly reminds her that she can't. The loan shark completely destroyed her door lock, leaving her place wide open and unsafe. Her suggestion of a simple padlock is quickly shot down as useless. Haewon frantically explains her desperate situation. She has to get to work with her debt and already losing one job. Getting fired now would be a total disaster. Unfazed, Ju-hyun points to a large suitcase and tells her to open it. Inside, she's shocked to find all her belongings from her trashed apartment. He had his guys salvage whatever they could, but when she asks about her clothes, he coldly says he threw them all out because the loan shark had touched them. He then drops another bombshell: she'll live with him now and he'll buy her new clothes. Feeling cornered, Haewon reluctantly agrees, but can't help wondering why he's helping her so much. After cleaning up, she emerges in a fresh outfit. Ju-won looking relaxed with a towel around his. Kali ini dia benar-benar terkejut karena pria itu tahu dia hanya tertawa dan mengungkapkan perbedaan usia mereka yang 9 tahun yang membuatnya berusia 34 tahun. Kaget karena dia jauh lebih tua dari penampilannya. Haewon dengan cepat mengalihkan pertanyaan berikutnya tentang penampilannya. Haewon dalam hati membandingkan Ju-hyun dengan bosnya yang seumuran tapi terasa seperti om-om yang sok keren. Tapi Ju-hyun, dia punya karisma alami yang membuat gerakan sederhananya pun terlihat menawan. Dia tiba-tiba memanggil Haewon, membuatnya kaget dengan menangkup wajahnya. Ju-hyun memeriksanya dengan saksama sambil bergumam kalau dia bukan seekor katak. Melihat Haewon kebingungan, dia menjelaskan kalau dia hanya memeriksa apakah Haewon perlu mampir ke apotek. Sebelum mereka pergi berbelanja pakaian, dia dengan baik hati menyarankan agar mereka makan dulu karena Haewon belum makan apa-apa sejak semalam. Saat mereka di mobil, Haewon duduk terdiam bertanya-tanya, apakah kebaikan Ju-hyun yang tiba-tiba ini hanyalah rasa tanggung jawab. Setelah malam mereka bersama dia, kemudian merasakan sebuah tatapan dan menangkap basah bawahan Ju-hyun yang menatapnya tajam dari kaca spion. Tatapan itu adalah tatapan menghakimi yang menyakitkan, yang sudah biasa ia terima sejak kecil karena gosip buruk tentang pekerjaan ibunya. Dia meyakinkan dirinya untuk tidak salah paham. Ju-hyun adalah pria berbahaya yang baru saja mengalahkan musuhnya kemarin. Mana mungkin pria sepertinya bisa punya perasaan secepat? Itu dia memutuskan untuk sadar diri dan mengakhiri perasaannya di sini. Padahal belum ada 1 jam sejak dia membuat keputusan besar itu. Tekad Haewon hancur berkeping-keping. Saat mereka seharusnya sedang berbelanja pakaian, Ju-hyun tiba-tiba menyudutkannya. Di sudut tersembunyi toko itu, dia menarik Haewon ke dalam pelukan erat dari belakang, niatnya sudah jelas membuat Haewon panik. Dia dengan lemah menyuruhnya berhenti mengingatkan, kalau ada banyak orang di luar, tapi Ju-hyun mengabaikan permohonannya. Dia mencondongkan tubuhnya dan meraih bibir Haewon dalam momen yang begitu dahsyat, tidak memberinya ruang untuk menolak. Dalam sekejap, tekadnya untuk menjaga jarak hancur lebur Ju-hyun tidak membuang waktu. Mendorong Haewon ke sudut tersembunyi, toko sisa-sisa tekadnya lenyap tak berbekas saat Ju-hyun terus mendesaknya membuatnya kehabisan napas. Yang bisa dia pikirkan hanyalah betapa anehnya ini. Mereka kan seharusnya hanya melihat-lihat baju situasinya memanas dengan cepat, dan permohonannya yang panik agar Ju-hyun menunggu sama sekali tidak dihiraukan. Tindakan Ju-hyun begitu mendominasi memperjelas kalau dia tidak punya niat untuk berhenti. Usahanya untuk menjaga jarak darinya telah gagal total di hadapan tekad pria itu akibat dari momen intim lainnya membuat Haewon benar-benar panik dan bertanya-tanya bagaimana hubungan mereka bisa memanas begitu cepat. Adegan kemudian beralih kembali ke beberapa menit sebelumnya. Inside a luxury boutique, enthusiastic staff shower her with compliments holding up various dresses and bags. Overwhelmed by the attention, Haewon can only manage a shy thank you when an employee asks about her personal style. She stammers that she wears just about anything. Stepping in, Ju-hyun confidently instructs the manager to simply bring whatever they think will suit her. Taking complete control of the shopping trip, Ju-hyun sternly tells the staff not to make things difficult for Haewon. This only fuels their gossip as they whisper about her being his younger sibling and a potential sister-in-law. Haewon overhears the wild speculation completely confused. Meanwhile, another woman, so young, watches them from a distance. Her heart sinks as she concludes that she was just a temporary distraction for Ju-hyun. Back in the moment, Haewon demands an explanation, but Ju-hyun simply grabs her arm and confidently leads her away, leaving her questions unanswered. Ju-hyun's mood instantly soars. He confronts the staff, coldly clarifying that Haewon is not his sister, and warning them to stop their baseless chatter. The manager, completely terrified, stammers out an apology for overstepping. Ju-hyun then dismisses everyone, ordering them to send all the clothes she tried on to her house. Left alone, a confused Hyun asks why he kicked them out. With a sudden change in demeanor, he just smiles sweetly, claiming he did it because she looked tired from all the attention. Ju-hyun claims he just wanted them to rest quietly, but Hyun isn't convinced. She argues they should just go home and voices her concern that the manager might get the wrong idea about them. His intense silent stare makes her nervous and she worries she's made him angry. But instead of scolding her, he suddenly pulls her close, his hand resting on her waist. Leaning in, he whispers that she's being cute. Before she can process his words, he closes the distance between them, leaving her stunned and wondering where he got the idea she was jealous. Hyun panics, telling him to wait. But Ju-hyun is already one step ahead. He calmly assures her that he made sure no one could come in, even having the security cameras turned off. She tries to argue that they're still outside in a public place, but her words are cut short. He completely silences her protests by pressing her against the wall, leaving no doubt about his intentions. Overwhelmed by his sudden and intense advance, Haewon finds her resistance quickly fading as he moves in closer, refusing to take no for an answer. Jo-hyun leans in close, telling a breathless Haewon to just focus on him. She stammers, wondering how she could possibly think straight when he's like this. Before she can protest further, he makes an incredibly bold move, his hand sliding to a much more personal place. Haewon lets out a shocked gasp, her face flushing bright red. Seeing her flustered reaction, Ju-hyun just smirks, confidently asking if she likes it. He's completely taken charge of the situation, leaving her with no room to escape. Ju-hyun leans in, pointing out that while she says no, her body's reaction tells a completely different story. But his retreat only throws Haewon into a different kind of panic. She instantly regrets her outburst, remembering that her survival depends on going along with whatever this man wants. Steeling herself, she trembles and agrees to do it, trying to convince herself she can endure it. Seeing her submission, Ju-hyun gently tilts her chin up, once again in complete control of the situation. He had won their battle of wills, but just as Haewon braces herself, Ju-hyun's entire demeanor shifts. Seeing her tears, he apologizes and questions why she's trying to endure something she doesn't want. He promises they won't do anything she dislikes, leaving her completely stunned by his sudden gentleness. He then makes a strange confession, admitting his tastes are unique but insisting he isn't the type to force anyone. After telling her to sit for a moment, he offers to help her clean up with a teasing remark, leaving Haewon utterly bewildered by this unpredictable man. Haewon panics, telling him she can wipe it herself, but he calmly kneels before her. He tells her to stay still, promising not to touch her any further, as he begins cleaning the mess on her leg. The situation is unbelievably embarrassing for Haewon, who flinches at his gentle but firm touch as she tries to endure the weird feeling. Her eyes widen. She notices that despite his calm expression, his body is having a very obvious and telling reaction to their proximity. Before she can react, he simply announces he's all done. Ju-yeon catches Hyun staring at the very obvious physical reaction he's having to their proximity. He smirks, teasingly asking if she's looking too hard at his thing. Flustered, she quickly apologizes, claiming it just looked uncomfortable. Taking his chance, Ju-yeon leans in and asks if she could help relieve his discomfort. He then makes a very specific and intimate request, but Haewon is completely innocent, asking what he means. Her genuine confusion delights Ju-yeon, who says it's a relief because otherwise you'd have to deal with whoever taught her. Hyun's mind short-circuits as Ju-yeon makes a very bold and intimate suggestion how she could relieve his discomfort. Later, she's lost in thought, replaying the mortifying memory. Thankfully, nothing actually happened, but she's been too embarrassed to even look at him since. Her daydreaming is cut short when her colleague Baginya calls her name. He points out her bright red face, asking if she has a fever, completely oblivious to the real reason she's blushing so hard. He has no idea what's really on her mind. As Ju-yeon arranges for her ride home, Hee-won's mind is still stuck on his shocking and intimate suggestion from earlier. Noticing her bright red flustered face, he suddenly bursts into laughter. Mortified, she tells him to stop, but he just calls her cute for worrying so much. To change the subject, she complains about the expensive clothes he got her. He smoothly suggests they go to a fancy restaurant together, but then reveals he has other plans. Instead, he's ordered a massive feast just for her, promising he'll check in later. Haewon tries to refuse, insisting he doesn't have to go that far and that she's already troubling him too much. But Ju-yeon's playful mood vanishes instantly. With a cold expression, he calls her by her full name, asking if refusing things is a habit. He warns her that if she keeps rejecting his gifts, from the clothes to the food, he's gonna get seriously angry. His forceful tone snaps Hee-won back to reality. She'd forgotten her place. She never had the right to say no to him. Just then, their ride pulls up. Before he leaves, Ju-yeon leans in and places a gentle kiss on Hee-won's forehead, telling her to eat while he's gone. She numbly agrees, and the car door shuts behind him. During the quiet ride, the driver suddenly offers some advice, telling her she should hold on to his boss. Confused, Haewon asks why he would say that. The driver explains that staying with Ju-hyun would completely turn her pitiful situation around. He adds that in 7 years of service, he has never seen the boss act this way with anyone before. The driver keeps talking, revealing that Ju-hyun has turned down the most powerful women in the country, from corporate heiresses to celebrity rivals. But for Haewon, a woman he just met, he paid off her entire debt. Later, as she sits alone in a lavish room, an attendant serves the feast Ju-won ordered. Hee-won is left with her thoughts, and they aren't grateful ones. A terrible feeling creeps in. This wasn't a rescue, it felt more like a transaction, as if she had just traded her freedom to settle her accounts. Overwhelmed by her new reality, Hee-won breaks down. This was the one fate she tried so desperately to avoid. Becoming her mother, she flashes back to the woman who couldn't live without a man, using her charms to get money and security. Haewon had always been disgusted by that life and swore she would be different, but a cruel voice rings in her head, mocking her. It sneers, asking why she's crying when she's just met a good man to change her fate, pointing out that she's acting exactly like the mother. She hates the cruel voice in Haewon's head takes shape, morphing into the condescending smile of her mother. The phantom mocks her, saying she's her daughter after all. The voice points out that in the end, a man still paid off her debt, so she should just accept it and live comfortably. Hee-won tries to deny it, but her frustration explodes, screaming that it's not the same. She grabs a nearby design book and slams it down, collapsing to her knees. She's left panting, her dreams feeling more distant than ever. Just then, the door to the suite beeps open and in walks Ju-won. He calls out her name, wondering why the lights are off and teasing that he'll have to scold her if she skipped her meal. But his playful mood vanishes in an instant. He finds Hyun huddled on the floor, her face streaked with tears from her breakdown. Completely stunned by the sight of her distress, he can only call out her name again. His voice tight with sudden serious concern, she looks utterly broken. Jun freezes, his playful mood shattering instantly. He sees Hyun curled up on the floor, looking completely broken, rushing to her side without a second thought. He kneels down and gently grabs her shoulder. His voice is tight with alarm as he asks what happened and if she's hurt. He pleads with her to say something, promising that he will take care of everything for her. He just needs her to talk to him, but she remains silent, lost in her despair. Thinking she's physically sick, Ju-won tells Haewon to go to the hospital as he gently touches her arm. But she finally finds her voice, asking him directly if he really paid off her debt and why. Ju-won seems almost relieved by the question. He dismisses her massive breakdown, asking if it was just about the money, saying he thought something serious had happened. That one word just sends a shock through Haewon. Her fists clench in fury. With eyes blazing, she tells him never to say just, because that very thing was destroying her. Haewon finally explodes, screaming at Ju-won about how miserable he's made her feel. But Ju-won's expression turns to ice. He coldly informs her she was being harassed by dangerous loan sharks. He spells out the grim reality. If he hadn't intervened, those men would have dragged her away to a terrible fate unconvinced. Haiwan accuses him of only paying because they were intimate, asking how this is any different. Fed up with her logic, Joo-hyun sharply warns her to stop talking nonsense, his patience completely gone. Haiwan's anger finally bursts. She declares that she has become just like that woman. Meanwhile, Joo-hyun runs a hand through his hair in frustration. He's already exhausted from a meeting, and this drama is driving him crazy. Seeing her crying, his irritation softens. He gently tells her to lift her head for a moment, cupping her tear-stained face. Looking at her broken expression, he curses quietly. He wonders what he's supposed to do when she looks at him like that. Before softly calling her a crybaby, Joo-hyun wipes a tear from her cheek, telling her to listen carefully. He reveals that he didn't simply pay off her debt, reminding her that he's a dangerous man. Confused, Haiwan asks what he means. Joo-hyun leans in, his voice dangerously low, and throws her accusation back in her face. If she thinks this is a transaction, then she should repay him exactly as she implied. Before she can react, he kisses her. Haiwan's mind races in despair, believing her worst fears have come true. But then a sharp thought cuts through. You fool, open your eyes. Just as her worst fears seemed real, Joo-hyun pulls away. He flicks her forehead, asking what she was thinking. He clarifies that she's supposed to repay him with work, not that. With a smirk, he lays out his terms. She'll live with him and cover the massive interest on her loan by doing housework. All she has to do is pay back the original amount, monthly. Stunned, Haiwan realizes he's serious. Dan berterima kasih padanya, mengakui ini adalah pertama kalinya ada orang yang begitu peduli padanya dengan jantung berdebar kencang. Haiwan terkejut saat Joo-hyun mengatakan ada sesuatu yang lebih penting daripada utangnya. Dia langsung ke intinya, bertanya mengapa dia belum makan. Sambil tersipu, dia diam-diam mengaku sedang menunggunya untuk makan bersama. Dalam hati, Joo-hyun memaafkannya karena menganggapnya imut, tapi pikirannya jauh lebih dalam dari itu. Sebuah kilas balik tiba-tiba mengungkapkan motif sebenarnya ini tidak pernah tentang uang. Dia hanya membalas budi gadis muda itu yang menyelamatkan hidupnya di tengah hujan 10 tahun yang lalu. Seiring perasaan Joo-hyun menjadi semakin rumit, dia tidak bisa lagi membedakan apakah dia hanya ingin melindungi Haiwan atau ada sesuatu yang lebih. Dia memutuskan itu tidak penting. Keesokan paginya, Haiwan kembali bekerja, merasa seolah-olah dia telah pergi selamanya. Sambil menyapa seorang rekan kerja, pikirannya melayang kembali ke akhir pekan yang liar. Dia teringat menyaksikan insiden mengerikan menghadapi bosnya dan utangnya lunas. Tetapi ketika ingatan tentang Joo-hyun yang memeluknya erat, muncul wajahnya memerah saat dia mengingat momen-momen intens mereka bersama. Sebuah tepukan di bahu menyadarkan Haiwan dari lamunannya. Rekannya So-young dengan riang menyapanya. Menyadari betapa bahagianya dia hari ini bersikap santai, Haiwan hanya mengatakan dia tidur nyenyak selama akhir pekan. So-young tampak sangat lega, mengakui bahwa dia sudah khawatir selama berbulan-bulan. Dia menyebutkan bahwa Haiwan selalu terlihat kelelahan dan pulang lebih awal, sampai-sampai dia pikir Haiwan mungkin akan berhenti dari pekerjaannya. Komentar itu sangat memukul Haiwan. Dia menyadari bahwa dia begitu fokus pada utangnya, sehingga dia tidak pernah mempertimbangkan bagaimana perjuangannya terlihat oleh rekan-rekan kerjanya yang khawatir. Feeling a wave of guilt, Haiwan realizes So-young must have been covering for her all this time. She finally comes clean, apologizing for being distracted by personal problems. So-young is just relieved to hear that everything is sorted out. Now, as a friendly punishment, she tells Haiwan to buy her coffee, getting excited for the evening. So-young mentions the company dinner is at a beef restaurant and happily pulls Haiwan along. But as they walk away, a man's shadow falls over the office floor, his presence going completely unnoticed. The company dinner is in full swing at the beef restaurant. As meat sizzles on the grill, their manager Seok-jin calls for a toast, and the team happily clinks their glasses together. So-young is ecstatic, telling Haiwan she's glad they finally get to drink together. Seok-jin chimes in, saying it's been too long. Haiwan tries to enjoy the moment, smiling and taking a sip of her drink. But despite looking forward to the night out, she finds herself completely unable to concentrate on the celebration around her. Her mind drifts away from the restaurant noise, zoning in on her phone. She remembers Joo-hyun telling her to call him the second she got off work. When she'd asked why, he cheekily questioned if she could even get home by herself. The realization hit her then. She'd been relying on his ride so much that she didn't even know the address of the house she was staying in. He had simply told her to call and he'd come get her. Back in the present, she can't help but think how weird this whole situation is for a boss and his employee. Deciding it would be too weird to ask her boss for a ride, Haiwan resolves to take a taxi home instead. But So-young immediately notices her distraction, calling her out for staring at her phone. She explains that everyone was worried about her strange behavior lately, especially their classmate Hongjun. Putting him on the spot, So-young bluntly asks Hongjun if he has a crush on Haiwan. The poor guy chokes on his drink, his beet red face and flustered smile giving away the obvious answer. He's totally into her. So-young laughs at Hongjun's red face but then whispers to Haiwan that she likes her the most. Haiwan plays along, but So-young suddenly drops a bomb, asking if she has a boyfriend. The question catches Haiwan completely off guard. For a split second, an image of Juhyun flashes in her mind as if he's calling her name. Shaken, she wonders why he popped into her head and quickly says she's single. So Young presses on asking about her ideal type. After a pause, Haewon admits she wants someone with strong masculine features. Her mind continues to wander, picturing her ideal type may be a kind guy with a great physique. Instantly, a shirtless image of Juhyun flashes in her thoughts, making her blush furiously. She tries to shake the crazy idea out of her head, but her phone buzzes, breaking her out of the daydream. It's a text from an unknown number with a simple command, "Call me." She immediately knows who it is. Stepping outside, she makes the call and finds Juhyun already there, waiting for her on the street. On the phone, Juhyun immediately calls Haewon out, telling her not to lie, since she knew about the company dinner. Confused, she asked how he found out. He drops an absolute bombshell. Her phone has a location tracker and a wiretap. He warns her not to even think about running away or calling the police. Memperjelas bahwa dia ada di bawah pengawasannya saat dia menyuruhnya pulang. Haewon secara mengejutkan menolak untuk meninggalkan pesta lebih awal. Akhirnya mengalah, Juwon bersikeras akan menjemputnya nanti, membuat Haewon tersipu malu karena perintahnya yang memaksa namun protektif saat dia menyimpan nomor Juwon. Haewon bertanya-tanya apakah Juwon menunggunya menelepon selama ini, sambil berpikir dalam hati bahwa inilah yang membuat mereka terasa seperti sepasang kekasih. Tiba-tiba sebuah suara memecah keheningan malam itu. Hongjin. Dia bertanya apa yang Haewon lakukan di luar kedinginan, dan dia berjanji akan segera kembali ke dalam. Dia memutuskan untuk menemaninya di luar sebentar lalu mengundangnya ke reuni mereka berikutnya sambil dengan santai menyebutkan bahwa banyak orang, termasuk dirinya sendiri, ingin lebih mengenalnya. Saat Hongjin menyarankan mereka kembali ke dalam pesta, Juwon mendengarkan seluruh percakapan mereka melalui alat penyadap itu. Saat dia mendengar pria lain bersikap ramah dengan Haewon, dia benar-benar murka. Dia mencabut earpiece-nya mendidih karena cemburu buta di dalam benaknya. Pria-pria lain ini hanyalah lalat pengganggu yang berdengung di sekitar miliknya. Sadar dia tidak bisa hanya diam dan mendengarkan, dia langsung menyambar jaketnya. Dia memutuskan untuk menyingkirkan lalat-lalat sialan itu sendiri dan mendatangi pesta itu. Makan malam perusahaan akhirnya selesai dengan rekan-rekan kerja yang mabuk terhuyung-huyung masuk ke taksi dan pulang ke rumah. Seorang rekan bertanya pada Haewon bagaimana dia akan pulang dan Hongjin segera menyela, menawarinya tumpangan. Dalam hati Haewon panik. Dia benar-benar lupa menelepon untuk minta dijemput. Tapi saat itu juga sebuah suara berat yang penuh perintah memanggil namanya. Dia membeku langsung mengenali suara itu. Sosok jangkung berjalan ke arah mereka, kehadirannya membuat kerumunan berbisik. Mereka setuju pria itu tampan seperti model, tapi auranya yang kuat membuatnya terlihat sangat mengintimidasi. Jemputannya telah tiba. Pria yang mengintimidasi itu tak lain adalah Juwon. Haewon hanya bisa membisikkan namanya, benar-benar terkejut, sementara Hongjin menatap tak percaya. Mengabaikan semua orang, Juwon menyatakan bahwa hari sudah malam dan dia datang untuk menjemputnya tanpa menunggu jawaban. Dia dengan percaya diri melangkah maju, meraih lengannya dan menariknya mendekat. Cengkeramannya begitu kuat, saat dia menegaskan kepemilikannya di depan rekan-rekan kerjanya, dia membungkuk dan mengumumkan mereka akan pergi sekarang, memberitahunya bahwa mereka akan pergi ke rumah kita. Tidak meninggalkan keraguan tentang hubungan mereka. Rekan-rekan kerjanya tidak bisa berhenti berbisik, bertanya-tanya apakah pria yang intens ini, pria tampan itu adalah pacar Haewon. Benar-benar panik. Haewon memohon padanya untuk menunggu, mengingatkannya bahwa semua orang dari kantor sedang memperhatikan mereka. Tapi Juwon hanya menyeringai menikmati kekacauan itu. Dia memberitahunya bahwa itulah intinya dia ingin mereka melihat. Dia sengaja membuat adegan ini karena lalat itu Hongjin. Darah Haewon seakan membeku, dia langsung sadar. Juwon telah menguping sepanjang waktu. Dalam upaya putus asa untuk melarikan diri, dia mulai mendorongnya menjauh, mendesaknya untuk segera pergi. Saat Seokjun mengemudi, situasi di dalam mobil menjadi sangat canggung. Juwon memecah keheningan. Dengan tenang bertanya pada Haewon apakah dia tidak nyaman. Dalam hati Haewon menjerit, tentu saja tidak nyaman. Dia sedang duduk di pangkuannya Juwon. Hanya menyeringai mengingatkannya bahwa dialah yang duduk di sana lebih dulu. Haewon panik, mengingat bagaimana dia tersandung dan Juwon hanya menangkapnya. Tiba-tiba mobil berguncang mendorongnya ke arah Juwon dan menyebabkan suara kecil keluar dari bibirnya. Sangat malu, dia khawatir betapa canggungnya ini bagi Seokjun yang malang di depan. Seringai Juwon melebar saat dia mempertanyakan mengapa Haewon terus melirik pria lain, mengklaim hal itu membuatnya cemburu. He shoots a cold warning at the terrified Seo Kyung, who immediately glues his eyes to the road. Completely flustered, Haewon begs him to stop, worried everyone will misunderstand their relationship. He pulls her face close, asking what there is to misunderstand. He whispers that they already live together and sleep together then. Gripping her tightly, he confirms they share a much deeper connection, leaving her absolutely speechless. Haewon's face flushes beet red. Juhyun smirks, told him. He has thought of them this way ever since she first hugged him. Her mind flashes back, trying to pinpoint the moment. Was it when she desperately clung to him during the loan shark incident, or was it another much closer memory? That leaves her too flustered to think. He leans in whispering a question. Does she normally live and do things like this? With a man who isn't her boyfriend? His hand moves, making his point undeniable and leaving her breathless. As Joo-hyun continues to make his point clear, Haewon is completely overwhelmed, clutching his shirt as she tries to process everything. He suddenly asks her what she thinks a boyfriend is. A flustered Haewon says it's a relationship where two people genuinely like each other, worried. He only wants something physical. But before she can spiral, he cuts her off with a stunning confession: he likes her. Hyun's mind goes blank. He confirms it with a smirk, telling her that all she needs to do now is like him back. Juan leans in his hand, gently holding her face as he tells her to just admit it, she likes him too. Haewon's mind short circuits. Is this a real confession? But their entire relationship is based on money? She can't tell if he's serious or just messing with her, and she doesn't have time for romance anyway. Sensing her panic, Joo-won pulls her into a gentle hug. He assures her he's not pushing for an answer and promises to wait, but Haewon is too overwhelmed to speak. And their strange daily routine continues with his confession hanging between them. Haewon's mind is a total mess. They ate together and shared a room, but they weren't an actual couple, just something undefined. Tossing and turning, she can't stop replaying his words. Does he really like her? The bigger question hits her like a ton of bricks. Does she like him back? A few weeks fly by and spring turns into summer as Haewon gets ready one morning. She realizes that despite the changing seasons, one thing remains constant ever since Juan's confession. It's all she can think about. Haewon fully expected to be kicked out for her silence, but Juan kept his promise. He waited and never brought up his confession again, allowing their strange daily life to continue. One morning, he calls out from behind her door, teasing that he'll come in and change her clothes himself if she's late. A panicked Haewon tells him to wait, but he barges in anyway. After she calls him a pervert for complaining about the view, his demeanor softens, and he points out her damp hair, warning she'll catch a cold before he starts drying it for her. As Joo-hyun dries her hair, Hyun's mind races. This is the first time a guy has ever done this for her, and she's completely flustered by how natural he is. He casually mentions he'll pick her up after her shift, acting just like a real boyfriend would. After he leaves, Haewon tries to get a grip. She tells herself to focus, reminding herself of the massive debt she still owes him. She can't afford to get swept up in these feelings when their entire relationship is still built on a contract. As Haewon watches him leave, she's still caught up in her feelings, but the gentle boyfriend persona drops the second June steps outside. The scene flips to a colder, more serious man. His subordinate Seo Jin reports that their target has taken the bait. But there's a new problem. Haewon might be in danger now. Joo-won seems completely unconcerned, dismissing the warning. A cold, calculating smile spreads across his face as he declares that this is all part of the plan. Everything is about to begin. Julian's car glides to a stop. He leans over and tells Haewon to clear her schedule for dinner. A huge smile spreads across her face as she eagerly agrees, waving goodbye. As he pulls away from the driver's seat, Xiaojun catches Joo-hyun watching her in the rearview mirror. He smirks, teasing his boss about how smitten he seems with Hyewon, but Joo-hyun offers no response, his expression turning cold and unreadable the moment they're out of her sight. His feelings are still a total mystery. In the car, Xiaojun keeps teasing his boss. He praises Joo-won, saying any woman would fall for a guy so rich and handsome. Joo-won tells him to knock it off, but his mind is fixated on Hyun. He thinks about how obvious her feelings are and finds himself getting impatient. He just wishes she would hurry up and confess. The scene then cuts to a high-rise office, where a man, executive director Kang, answers a call. He states he's busy, but the caller has something important to tell him. On the other end of the line, Joo-hyun's subordinate has a grim report. Looking annoyed, Joo-hyun tells him to get straight to the point. The news is a bombshell. One of their inside men has flipped to Bayong's side. The subordinate speculates it might be a secret ploy to investigate a nasty accusation surrounding the sleazy director. He confirms he's already increased Hyun's security, which Joo-hyun approves, ordering him to keep it quiet as rumors threaten Byung-hun's career. It becomes obvious he's getting desperate and aiming for Joo-hyun's weak spot. Joo-hyun knows exactly what Byung-hun will do: try to get to Hyun, the woman he now considers his. His subordinate agrees, warning that things feel more dangerous this time, reminding Julian of what happened 10 years ago. A dark memory flashes by Juan, grievously wounded and left for dead in a rainy alley. After Byung-hun tried to silence him, he recalls the near-fatal encounter and the lingering pain from the attack. Back in his office, a cold, predatory smile spreads across Juwan's face. He isn't scared, he's ready. Juwan tells his subordinate not to worry. He explains that Byung-hun already tried to get rid of him once before and failed. His mind flashes back to when he was 18, an orphan left to fend for himself on the streets. A flashback shows a younger Joo-hyun easily dispatching a group of thugs who were shocked by his strength. As he catches his breath, a well-dressed older man approaches, clearly impressed. It was Lee Woojin, the chairman of Woojin Group. He made Julian an offer, and with no other options, Julian became a pawn in his game, working for Chairman Woo Jian. Julian handled the company's dear Thea's secrets, He climbed the ranks fast, becoming an executive director with more influence than the chairman's own son Byung-un. Freaking out, Byung-in confronted his father, begging him to stop Ju-won. But Woo-jin just laughed, calling him weak for not being able to handle a guy from the streets. Humiliated and seething with rage, Byung-hun bersumpah akan menyingkirkan Ju-won sendiri. Rasa cemburu yang membara ini segera membuat sosok misterius dengan pisau mendatangi Ju-won. Di tengah malam buta, Ju-won teringat semua momen saat Byung-hun mencoba menyingkirkannya untuk selamanya. Membuatnya nyaris tidak selamat dari setiap pertemuan itu. Bawahannya bertanya apa yang akan dia lakukan sekarang, yakin bahwa saingan mereka akan bergerak lagi. Ju-won mengetukkan jarinya di meja. Setuju, dia menjelaskan bahwa dulu dia menahannya karena sang pimpinan melindungi putranya. Tapi tidak lagi bayangan Haewon memenuhi pikirannya. Dia akhirnya punya seseorang untuk dilindungi. Dia memutuskan bahwa sementara dia menangani Byung-hun secara langsung, mereka akan menugaskan polisi penyamar lain untuk keamanannya, memastikan keterlibatan polisi jika dia menjadi sasaran. Hyungjin menyeringai, senang melihat Ju-won akhirnya kembali menjadi dirinya yang dulu yang tegas. Dia mengonfirmasi bahwa dia mengerti rencana baru itu. Setelah perintahnya diberikan, Ju-won memeriksa waktu. Jam kerja sudah selesai, dan dia tahu ini adalah hari yang penting. Dia menyuruh Hamjun agar Seo-kyung menyiapkan mobil. Sementara itu, Haewon sedang meninggalkan kantor. Saat dia berpapasan dengan Hongjun, dia menyadari kalau Haewon pulang lebih awal, dan dia dengan gembira menjelaskan bahwa dia punya janji makan malam. Sama sekali tidak sadar bahwa teman kencannya sudah dalam perjalanan untuk menjemputnya. Hongjin dengan belak-belakan bertanya, apakah teman kencannya itu pacarnya sangat salah tingkah? Haewon berpikir dalam hati bahwa mereka belum meresmikan hubungan mereka, jadi dia tidak bisa benar-benar menyebutnya begitu. Hongjin salah mengartikan keraguannya dan dengan canggung meminta nomor teleponnya. Menggunakan acara kumpul-kumpul kantor yang akan datang sebagai alasan, Haewon setuju dan mereka dengan cepat bertukar info kontak. Tepat saat Hongjin mulai mengatakan sesuatu yang lain, suara pintu mobil yang tertutup di dekatnya memotong ucapannya. Sepertinya jemputannya sudah datang. Haewon masuk ke dalam mobil. Dengan cepat meminta maaf karena membuat Ju-won menunggu dan mengatakan dia datang tepat setelah pulang kerja. Tapi Ju-won tidak tertipu sedetik pun. Dan dengan terus terang mengungkap kebohongannya, bingung dia bersikeras bahwa dia tidak begitu terlambat. Saat itulah Ju-won mengungkapkan bahwa dia tahu. Dia berhenti untuk bertukar nomor dengan pria lain. Tertangkap basah, Haewon dengan gugup bertanya apakah dia marah. Ju-won yang salah tingkah membuang muka, bertanya apakah terlihat menyedihkan baginya untuk terganggu oleh hal seperti ini. Kecemburuannya terlihat jelas. Mencoba mengalihkan pembicaraan, Haewon bertanya apakah menurutnya dia terlalu tua untuk merajuk karena hal sepele seperti ini. Komentar itu menyinggung perasaannya, dan Ju-won bertanya-tanya mengapa Haewon mengatakan itu. Haewon akhirnya sadar dia bukan hanya kesal. Dia cemburu. Dia merasa reaksinya sangat lucu, tapi segera menyadarkan dirinya mengingat utangnya yang sangat besar. Melihatnya diam, Ju-won mengambil ponselnya, menyatakan dia akan menghapus nomor pria itu. Dia memperingatkannya untuk tidak dekat-dekat dengan Hongjin. Sebelum memblokir kontak itu, Haewon hanya setuju, tidak sabar untuk akhirnya pergi makan. Setelah drama akhirnya selesai, Ju-won mengantar mereka ke tempat makan malam. Dia berhenti di sebuah gedung yang terlihat sangat mewah dan mengumumkan bahwa mereka telah tiba. Haewon keluar dari mobil, tapi dia sangat terkejut ketika menyadari di mana mereka berada. Ini bukan hanya restoran, ini adalah hotel besar yang mewah. Dia benar-benar salah tingkah. Dia memberitahu Ju-won bahwa seharusnya dia memberitahunya agar dia bisa berdandan untuk menghentikan keluhannya. Ju-won dengan lembut menariknya ke dalam pelukan dan meyakinkannya untuk tidak khawatir. Ju-won mencondongkan tubuhnya dengan lembut, memberitahu Haewon bahwa bahkan jika dia memakai baju jelek sekalipun, dia akan tetap menjadi orang yang paling cantik di matanya. Benar-benar salah tingkah. Dia berpikir Ju-won sudah terlalu pandai merayu, dan dengan cepat mengajaknya masuk di meja mereka. Ju-won memesan salad salmon dan steak medium rare, with total confidence, seeing how at ease he is in such a fancy place. Haewon feels a little insecure. She nervously fidgets with her napkin, realizing that he truly lives in a completely different world than she does. As their wine is poured, Haewon feels completely out of place. Ju-haeon notices her daze and calls her name. Snapping her back to reality, he raises his glass for a toast, smoothly telling her that he was thinking of her the last time he was here for work. The directness of his words makes Haewon's face burn bright red. Ju-haeon just laughs, admitting that her timid reactions only make him want to tease her more. Before she can respond, a new woman approaches their table, calling out to Ju-haeon by his formal title. Ju-haeon's good mood evaporates as he recognizes the voice of a woman in a stunning red dress. Jung Yi-hyun of the powerful Musang group confidently approaches their table. She calls their meeting a coincidence, adding that she was about to call him anyway. Ju-hyun coldly asks if she can't see he's busy, but she just scoffs, glancing at Haewon. Yi-hyun dismisses their dinner as unimportant. Ju-haeon sees this, loosening his tie in frustration. He had planned to confess his feelings to Haewon tonight, and this woman just ruined the entire mood. Ju-haeon's mind races. This is Jung Yi-hyun, daughter of the rival Musang group. He knows she only pretended to be Byung-un's girlfriend. so her father could keep him in check. But now that Byung-on has faltered, she's turned her attention to him. Fed up, Joo-hyun grabs her wrist, coldly telling her that his dinner is important and she needs to leave. Outraged, Yi-hyun asks how he dares treat her this way. Joo-hyun just scoffs, retorting that it's obvious what she wants to propose. A very personal kind of merger. Yi-hyun smirks, wondering if her usual bold proposition gets old for him. Joo-hyun scoffs, confirming his suspicions. He calls her delusional, asking if she thought he was like Byung-on, willing to give everything away for a single night's arrangement. Joo-hyun declares, "There's only one woman who could ever sway him." Realizing he means Hwan, Yi-hyun explodes. She furiously points a finger, shouting about the rumors that he's keeping a young girl by his side. She can't believe he's throwing her away for that. Joo-hyun's expression hardens as he tells her to watch her mouth. Yi-hyun scoffs, crudely asking if Hwan is just some temporary fling he's putting a little effort into. As Joo-hyun's rage builds, he warns her to back off. Suddenly, a new voice cuts in. It's Hwan, who calmly places a hand on Joo-hyun's shoulder, shocking them both. She looks Yi-hyun dead in the eye and declares that she is his girlfriend, pulling a stunned Yi-hyun away from the table. Hwan throws one last comment over her shoulder, telling the woman to stop throwing herself at someone else's boyfriend. Hwan coolly calls the woman's actions pathetic and dismisses her with a final goodbye as the rival storms off in a fury. Hwan leads a very pleased Joo-hyun away by the arm, but once they reach the hotel lobby, he suddenly stops and pulls her into his arms. Hwan tells him to wait, pointing out that people are watching them. Joo-hyun just smirks, whispering for her to let them watch. After all, who cares if he wants to kiss his girlfriend? Hwan is left completely flustered by his bold move, still flustered in his arms. Hwan pushes against his chest, insisting they should go home, but Joo-hyun just grins. Asking if she's forgotten where they are, he coolly pulls out a keycard, revealing he's already booked a suite. Hwan is floored, realizing this was his plan from the start, as he leans in, gently touching her face. He softly asks if she hates the idea. Completely caught off guard by his smooth move, Hwan is left a blushing, speechless lass as he closes the distance between them. The hotel room door barely has time to click shut before Joo-hyun has Hwan pressed against it, pulling her into a passionate kiss. As the moment heats up, Hwan's senses return. Realizing he came straight from a long day at the office, she gently pushes him back, blushing. She insists he should wait a second, while she freshens up. But Joo-hyun just gives her a sly grin, asking if she's sure with zero shame. He leans in and suggests they can just go wash up together instead. Completely overwhelmed by his bold suggestion, Hwan can't argue as Joo-hyun leads her into the bathroom. As the warm water begins to spray, any protest she had quickly fades. Hwan knew this was going to happen, but she's still a blushing mess. The next morning, Hwan wakes up completely drained, her entire body aching from the non-stop weekend. She realizes it's no wonder she feels this way, as Joo-hyun hadn't given her a single moment to rest. Joo-hyun appears, asking if she's awake. He smirks, admitting that seeing her like this makes him want to continue their intense weekend. Hwan immediately panics, pulling the sheets up and insisting she's reached her absolute limit. He laughs, assuring her he's only joking, but when she points out the marks he left, complaining she can't wear sleeveless tops, his possessive side comes out. He calls it perfect, declaring she can only wear revealing clothes for his eyes since he won't tolerate other men staring at her. Hwan calls him a pervert, but Joo-hyun just smirks cheekily, asking who is the one so eagerly asking for more. Just a little while ago. Flustered and speechless, Hwan grips the sheets. Seeing he's pushed her enough, Joo-hyun tells her to get some rest, since she hasn't slept in 2 days. She grumbles that it's all his fault, but he just laughs, joking that if she wants to know his secret, they could have another round. That's the last straw. And Hwan immediately declares she's going to sleep. Amused, he finally lets her be. As Hwan rests, a rare feeling of peace washes over her. For the first time, she feels completely safe and wonders if she's ever been able to relax like this. Her mind flashes back to her traumatic past. A life where she was never safe, from her childhood to the moment she ran away from her mother. She could never truly rest. Because of this constant struggle, she forced herself to believe that wanting to be liked by someone was a selfish luxury she couldn't afford. It was a defense mechanism to survive a world that was never kind to her. Hwan reflects on her past, realizing she spent her life suppressing her true self just to survive, but this man is different. His voice cuts through her troubled thoughts as he gently asks why she can't sleep. He's completely captivated, wondering how her kindness makes him so greedy for more of her. Seeing his genuine concern, Hwan's emotional walls finally crumble as he tenderly holds her face. She looks at him with newfound clarity, and confesses that she likes him too. In a rare moment of peace, Hwan lays with Joo-hyun, wishing she had been honest about her feelings sooner. "I like you" still feels too new, too frightening. She silently asks him to just wait a little longer for her to build her courage. However, as if mocking her newfound happiness, trouble comes calling. Elsewhere, a frantic Seoin answers her phone to see Joo-hyun's name, overcome with fear. She desperately screams into the receiver, asking where he is. The peaceful moment is shattered the morning after their confession. Joo-hyun drops a reluctant Hee-won off at her job. He tells her to call him when she's done. But she playfully fires back that he keeps tabs on her anyway. Unfazed, Joo-hyun admits he just wants an excuse to hear her voice, leaving her completely flustered as she tries to shoo him away. He leans in for a surprise kiss on the cheek. Mortified, Hee-won shouts his name, reminding him they're right in front of her company, where anyone could see them. Joo-hyun smirks, knowing she's embarrassed. He coolly explains that's why he only asked for a kiss. But this smooth operator plays by his own rules. Before Haewon can react, he leans in and gives her a proper one, leaving her completely stunned. He tells her to call him after work and then departs, leaving her a flustered, blushing mess. As she tries to compose herself, Haewon realizes that having him walk her to work now feels completely natural. In fact, her morning would feel awkward without him. At work, Haewon's colleague points out that it's way too hot for a turtleneck. Of course, Haewon has a very good reason for covering up. Her mind flashes back to the night before, where she and Joo-hyun came to a much closer, more intense understanding. Now that they were officially lovers, the aftermath left some very clear marks. Overwhelmed and blushing, she realizes she needs advice. Framing it as a question for a friend, she nervously asks her married colleague what you're supposed to do when you first start dating someone. Her colleague immediately sees through the lie, excitedly asking if this is about the handsome guy who picked her up from the company dinner. A flustered Haewon insists it's for a friend, but her colleague just laughs it off. She gives some wholesome advice, saying that in a new relationship, even simple things like eating together are fun. But after her friend leaves to take a call, Haewon's thoughts spiral. Would a simple meal really be enough for a man like Joo-hyun? She imagines how smooth and experienced he must be, likely having dated many women. A hot flash of jealousy washes over her as she chugs her drink, suddenly wondering what he's doing right now. As Haewon worries, she gives Joo-hyun a call, playfully asking if he's listening in. But while she's thinking of him, the reality of his life is dangerously different. Joo-hyun is indeed listening, but he's in the middle of a brutal confrontation surrounded by thugs on a dark road. He's already taken some nasty hits. His men urge him to escape, but Joo-hyun just scoffs at his uncultured opponents. With a grim smirk, he braces himself, as another weapon swings right for him, ready to handle business his own way. As Joo-hyun faces down his attackers, his phone shatters into pieces. On the other end of the line, Haewon's call goes straight to voicemail. She tries again, but it's no use. A wave of unease washes over her. This is strange, he's never once missed her call before. Ever since they met, Joo-hyun has been completely reliable. He would always wait for her after work, or send one of his men if he couldn't make it himself, because he was always there. This sudden empty silence feels terribly wrong. Haewon tries to convince herself it's nothing. He's a busy man, maybe he's just stuck in traffic and can't check his phone. But a terrible feeling begins to creep in. What if something really happened? As she walks lost in her worried thoughts, a hand suddenly grabs her shoulder. She whips around startled, but it isn't Joo-won. The man politely asks her to excuse him, and Haewon's eyes widen in recognition. She's seen him before, he's one of Joo-won's men. Elsewhere, another man introduces himself as Jung Jae-min. Joo-won's man tells Haewon not to worry, claiming the boss sent him. But his vague answers only make her panic. She desperately asks if something has happened to Joo-won. The man just says he'll explain on the way to the car. Haewon immediately senses that something is wrong. This isn't the usual car, and the atmosphere feels tense. She tries to refuse, but the man's friendly act drops. He grabs her arm, his voice turning cold. He makes it clear that this isn't a request. It's an order from Joo-won, and she has no choice. Backed into a corner, Haewon reluctantly agrees to go, but before they leave, the man makes a sudden move, grabbing her. Instead of hurting her, he secretly slips a note into her bag, whispering for her to check it later and trust him. Haewon is completely bewildered by his actions. Just then, her phone rings, shattering the tense silence. Her eyes widen in disbelief. It's Joo-won. She quickly answers, her voice trembling as she says his name, a mix of shock and relief washing over her. On the phone, Joo-won's voice is calm as he tells Haewon to go with the man named Jae-min. He reassures her that it will be safe and asks her to trust him, but Haewon is distraught, yelling that she was worried sick when he didn't show up, and now he isn't explaining anything. He just lightly teases her, asking if she's throwing a tantrum. As she fumes, the real situation is revealed. Joo-won is in a hospital bed, bandaged and injured. He quietly asks her again to please trust him for now. The mysterious man finally sighs, telling a bewildered Haewon that they are going to where Joo-won is. Utterly confused by the whole situation, she can only follow. They soon arrive at a massive modern building, and her heart drops when she sees the sign. Woojin Construction Affiliated University Hospital. Joo-won isn't just in any hospital, he's being held in a place run by their enemy, Lee Woojin. She's just walked straight into a trap. As a nearby door slides open, Haewon braces herself for whatever comes next. Haewon bursts through the door, calling Joo-won's name. Her eyes land on him sitting casually on a hospital bed, covered in bandages. Just seeing him alive makes her gasp with relief. He turns a small smile playing on his lips as he greets her. She rushes over her voice, trembling as she asks if he's okay. Instead of answering, pulls her onto the bed beside him. He calmly tells her not to worry, explaining that he only pretended to be hurt because of the circumstances, and apologizes for scaring her so badly. Ju-won reveals he faked his injuries because he thought Byun's men were behind the attack. But the real surprise was that the mercenaries were sent by someone else entirely. This leaves him wondering what his old rival Byun is secretly plotting. Back with Haewon, he dismisses her worries, calling it a little scrape. To prove he's really okay, he pulls her in close and opens his gown. Haewon gets totally flustered, telling him to sit doing this in front of everyone, but he just calmly enjoys her cute reaction. Haewon is still baffled as to why a perfectly healthy person would get admitted to a hospital. Ju-won just smirks, explaining it's only for a few days, to keep up appearances. He casually mentions that his man Xiaojun is a master at staging fake accidents. Red on cue, Xiaojun enters carrying a plate of freshly cut apples. He greets Haewon with a cheerful sister-in-law, even joking about the fat insurance settlement they could get. Stunned by the nickname, Haewon freezes as Julian calmly feeds her an apple slice. Haewon suddenly recalls a strange encounter from earlier. A man had stopped her and secretly slipped something into her bag. Flustered and needing an escape, she tells Joyeon she's stepping out to the restroom. He casually agrees, but she feels a sudden urgency to be alone, and quickly leaves the room. Once inside the restroom, she decides she can't let Joyeon see whatever is in her bag. She reaches inside and pulls out the mysterious item. Her eyes widen in complete shock as she stares at a piece of scandalous, lacy clothing tucked inside the mysterious package. Haewon discovers a folded note. Her eyes go wide as she reads the shocking truth. The man who slipped it to her was an undercover detective. He's investigating Woojin construction, and left the note to warn her she's in danger. Her mind flashes back to an intimate moment with Ju-yeon and she cringes. The detective must have thought she was just a desperate woman getting close to a powerful man. She bitterly questions why the law is only helping now, remembering how it failed her when she ran to them as a child. Haewon's mind flashes back to all the times the law failed her. She remembers being harassed at her part-time job, only for the police to tell her there was nothing they could do and send her away. She learned a harsh lesson back then. No one would ever save her. With a new cold determination, she tears the detective's note into pieces. She can't trust the police anymore. Flushing the scraps down the toilet, she erases the warning for good. She figures the detective must think she's completely insane. Haewon decides she doesn't care about the detective's warning. As far as she's concerned, her only shot at happiness is right here with Ju-yeon. She strides back into the room and throws herself into his arms, holding him tight. Surprised but pleased by her sudden clinginess, Ju-yeon pulls her onto his lap and promises to stay with her for the day. She timidly asks if this is okay because she's his girlfriend, and he grins, admitting he loves the sound of that. He then notices his men watching and orders them to clear out. Ju-hyun pulls Haewon closer, his voice dropping low as he asks if she liked her gift. Confused, she asks what he means. His expression darkens as he clarifies. He's talking about the package from Jung Jae-min, the detective. Haewon's blood runs cold. She stammers, asking how he knew. He just smirks, telling her she was being completely obvious. Panicking, Haewon quickly explains she checked the note and threw it away immediately. Seeing her fear, Jo-won softens his tone, reassuring her that he's not angry, and she doesn't need to be scared. Julian holds Haewon close, telling her she should accept the police's protection, since it's her right as a citizen. This completely baffles her. She thought he was supposed to be her protector. Ju-won's tone turns serious as he drops a bombshell. He explains that there's trouble within his organization, so it will be difficult for them to stay together for a while. Haewon's world shatters. Just moments ago she was floating on air, but now her heart sinks like a stone. A cold, heavy dread washes over her as she feels fate reminding her she can't be happy. 10 long days pass, and it feels like something huge is happening behind the scenes, but she's left completely in the dark. Now the detective Jaemin handles the commute she once shared with Ju-won, leaving her feeling uneasy and alone. Haewon's new daily routine involves being escorted by the detective Jaemin. She begs him to be less formal, but he insists he's just following orders. Unfortunately, his very official drop-offs are starting to get the wrong kind of attention. At her office, her coworkers start whispering, speculating that she's either the director's secret daughter or has a rich benefactor paying for a guard. Her boss So-young corners her, asking about a rumored stalker. Panicked, Haewon blurted out that her boyfriend hired him as a bodyguard, trying to kill the rumors before they spread. Haewon's boyfriend excuse works a little too well, and now her coworkers won't stop gossiping about how great he is. Later, sitting in the car with Detective Jaemin, the pressure finally gets to her. She asks how long this arrangement will last, complaining about the constant stares at the office. It's been 10 long days since she last saw Ju-won, and she's reaching her limit. Jaemin reminds her they video call every day, but she snaps back that it's not the same. He sighs, admitting he honestly doesn't have any answers for her. Detective Jaemin offers to help Haiwan run away, but she immediately shuts him down, declaring that she trusts Ju-won far more than him. Jaemin lets out a bitter little smirk, questioning how she could trust a man like that. He then drops a massive bombshell. His own little sister's life was destroyed when she fell for a gangster. A dark memory flashes by of his sister's tragic end. His voice turns ice cold as he asks Haiwan if she truly believes she can handle the miserable weight that comes with such a choice. Haiwan looks him dead in the eye, saying she's sorry about his sister but has already prepared herself for the worst. After all, she's used to being abandoned. Just then her phone buzzes. Hoping it's Ju-won, her heart sinks when she sees it's an unknown number. A text message follows with a chilling claim that someone is about to die because of her and demanding they meet. Haiwan freezes. She instantly knows who sent it, a manipulative woman from her past seen in a dark memory holding a glass of wine. The chilling text is from her mom. Haiwan's mind spirals as she realizes her own mother is the one threatening her. This woman always finds a way to destroy the fragile peace Haiwan tries to build. She suspects her mom failed to take out another loan in her name and is now lashing out with empty threats. Overwhelmed, Haiwan begins to tremble in her seat. Noticing her distress, Jaemin asks what's wrong and offers to pull over, but Haiwan forces herself to stay calm, insisting she's fine and telling him to just go. Just as she's about to fall apart, her phone rings again. It's Ju-won. Haiwan freezes, caught in a terrible dilemma. If she ignores the call, he'll worry, but if she answers, he'll immediately see how distressed she is. Taking a shaky breath, she accepts the call only to discover it's a video chat. Ju-hyun's warm voice asks why he can't see her pretty face. Seeing him almost shatters her composure, but she forces herself to stay strong. She can't afford to be weak now. His voice calls her name again. Overwhelmed, Haiwan can't stop herself from whispering Ju-hyun's name, confessing that she misses him. She immediately tries to backtrack, covering her distressed face and insisting it was nothing, but Ju-hyun can hear the pain in her voice. Sensing something is wrong, he doesn't push, simply promising to call her again when he gets home. The moment the call ends, Haiwan's facade crumbles. Sitting alone in the passenger seat, she finally breaks down, her quiet sobs filling the car, as the weight of her mother's threat becomes too much to bear. As tears roll down her cheeks, Haiwan desperately tries to control herself. She retreats into a childhood coping mechanism, hoping that if she just counts, this awful moment will pass. A painful memory surfaces of her as a little girl, huddled alone and counting through her sobs to endure the pain. Back in the present, the quiet car screeches to a stop. Jaemin had clearly heard everything. He glances at her distressed reflection in the rearview mirror, his expression full of concern, before gently reaching over to wipe a tear from her face. Still reeling, Haiwan tells herself she just needs to count to 30 before getting out of the car. She forces her mind to focus on the numbers, a desperate attempt to regain control. 28, 29. But just as she reaches 30, a sharp knock on the window jolts her back to reality. Her head snaps up, her eyes wide with shock. It's Ju-hyun. He's standing right there, his expression intense. Without waiting for a response, he firmly tells her to open the door, his voice laced with undeniable concern. Still reeling, Haiwan tells herself she just needs to count to 30 before getting out of the car. She forces her mind to focus on the numbers, a desperate attempt to regain control. 28, 29. But just as she reaches 30, a sharp knock on the window jolts her back to reality. Her head snaps up, her eyes wide with shock. It's Ju-hyun. He's standing right there, his expression intense. Without waiting for a response, he firmly tells her to open the door, his voice laced with undeniable concern. Haiwan's mind spirals into the past, reliving the nightmare of her childhood. Living with her mother meant constant tension, where a single wrong word could turn a calm moment into a terrifying outburst. A simple comment about her resembling her father was enough to trigger her mother's fury. Haiwan reflects that if her mom had always been cruel, it would have been easier to hate her. But the rare warm moments kept her trapped. After escaping that life, she built a wall around her heart, believing it's safer to expect nothing than to trust and be betrayed, despite her resolve to stay distant. Ju-hyun's voice echoes in her mind, calling her name. She feels like she's drowning, struggling with his persistent kindness. Why is it so hard to refuse the help he's offering? Suddenly, something snaps. The car door clicks open in a burst of pure emotion. Haiwan leaps out and throws herself into his arms. With a massive, relieved smile, she calls his name, finally choosing to trust him. Instead of pushing him away, she's done fighting it. Ju-hyun is completely stunned by the sudden hug, his face flushing red as he asks if she's okay. Flustered, Haiwan admits she just really wanted to see him. He connects the dots, realizing she was worried after their phone call earlier. Relieved that she's safe, he pulls her into a tight embrace. Hyun asks how he found the time, and he glances at his watch, saying he's fine for a bit, but instead of heading up to her place, he guides her back into the car, making his intentions for the immediate future very clear. Back in the car, Hyun hits the lock with a decisive click. He smirks casually, remarking that a bigger car would be better, even joking about buying a camper van. As Haewon tries to process his words, he loosens his tie and the atmosphere shifts immediately. Her eyes widen as she realizes what's happening. Wasting no time, he leans over, closing the distance and pressing her into the seat. Things escalate quickly and he whispers, amused at her immediate and strong reaction to his touch. He smirks teasingly, asking if this is just her built-up frustration from them being apart. A flustered Hyun quickly denies it, but he just grins playfully, asking if he should check to be sure. Before she can protest, he takes complete control of the situation. He leans in close, whispering a quiet warning that, if she makes too much noise, everyone outside will hear them in the car. Joo Hyun calmly states that it's time for him to go. Haewon feels guilty knowing he skipped another important meeting. Just to see her. He just laughs, admitting he didn't want to go to the other appointment anyway. Suddenly, his tone shifts as he notices her worried expression. He promises to end whatever is making her anxious, soon gently touching her face. Joo Hyun asks her to trust him and hold on just a little longer, making it clear he's going to handle everything. Just as he's about to leave, Joo Hyun pulls Haewon into a sudden close embrace. He whispers that he loves her, leaving her completely stunned and speechless. After a moment of shock, she manages to tell him to be careful and come back safely. With a confident smirk, he reassures her not to worry and to just wait for him. He also tells her to eat properly and not get hurt while he's gone. The car door clicks shut, and Haewon can only watch him walk away, realizing she was too floored to respond. As Joo Hyun walks away, Haewon stands there completely floored. The shock from his confession quickly melts into a moment of pure clarity. With a small knowing smile, she waves goodbye, making a promise to herself. The next time she sees him, she is definitely going to say that she loves him too. The scene cuts to the Woojin Group headquarters, where Joo Hyun has finally arrived for his meeting. Waiting for him is the intimidating chairman Woojin, who doesn't look happy. With a sharp glance, he immediately calls Joo Hyun out for being late. Joo Hyun bows his head, blaming the heavy traffic for his tardiness, but Chairman Woojin isn't buying it. With a sly grin, he brings up rumors about Joo Hyun being distracted by a woman calling an old flame a terrifying thing. Joo Hyun's expression hardens as he realizes Woojin has been digging into his private life. Dropping the act, the chairman accuses him of stirring up trouble in Byung-un's territory. With a confident smirk, Joo Hyun simply tells the old man to phrase his accusations more carefully. Ba Young-un plays the victim in front of Chairman Woojin, complaining that Joo Hyun started the fight and put him in the hospital. The chairman is tired of their bickering, scolding them for acting like children. But Joo-un is completely unfazed, thinking it's pathetic that Byung-hun is still tattling to his dad at his age. He admits he wouldn't normally care, but he knew Byung-hun would eventually target Haewon. So Joo-un dismantled his rival's territory piece by piece, sending a clear message. The only problem: the coward Byung-hun never even showed up. Joo-un internally scoffs at the chairman's one principle that brothers must not fight. He wonders how that rule applies when his dear brother has tried to get rid of him more than 10 times. The chairman dismisses Byung-hun's actions, calling it a simple case of an older brother disciplining his younger sibling. The excuse is so pathetic that Joo-un can't hold back his laughter. His sudden outburst shocks Chairman Woojin, who watches as Joo-un's amusement twists into a cold, menacing glare. Flustered, the chairman angrily demands an explanation for his disgraceful behavior. Joo-un offers a fake apology, finding it hilarious that trying to harm your brother with a weapon is just discipline. This blatant disrespect pushes the chairman over the edge, absolutely furious. He hurls a handkerchief directly at Joo-un's face, screaming his full name. The chairman has had enough roaring that Joo-un is banished to China immediately. But the outburst doesn't faze Joo-un at all. Instead, he stands there calmly contemplating his new destination. Joo-un knows exactly what being sent to China means. It's where the chairman ships everyone he wants gone for good, but he's not scared. In his eyes, his father is just a toothless tiger. In response to the banishment, Joo-un casually says he'll think about it. He then closes the distance between them, calmly taking the handkerchief from the old man's hand. He warns the chairman to worry about his own health before his children squabble, leaning in to whisper a final chilling message directly into his ear. With a final chilling whisper, Joo-un warns the old man to be careful walking at night. Chairman Woojin is left stunned and furious, barely able to sputter out an insult, but Joo-un is already gone, walking away with a smug smirk. He realizes that this desperate attempt to get rid of him means his enemies are feeling the pressure. Deciding it's time to speed up his plans, he pulls out his phone. Just as he does, his subordinates come running, urgently calling out for their boss. Joo-un's subordinate Seojin rushes over, struggling to catch his breath. Joo-un asks what's happening, and the man delivers the worst possible news. They've completely lost contact with Haewon and a detective. The smug confidence drains from Joo-un's face, replaced by a cold building rage. He asks Seojin to repeat himself, his voice dangerously low. A sudden image flashes through his mind of Haewon, teed up and helpless on a cold floor. It's clear who is behind this, the villainous Byung-hun.